Today, as we talked last time, we have a very special guest this time, Ms. Corey Bootsma, our curriculum expert. And so she's going to be sharing information about DLI curriculum. And so if you have any questions, I'm sure she should be able to help you. And if she doesn't have the answers right now, I'm sure she can find the answers. But Corey, go for it. It's all you.
I'll know a lot about kind of the core programs. Can everybody see my screen? Is it popping up?
Yep.
Awesome. So with the DLI, the good news is we all have the same programs as we have with the mainstream courses. And so from here on out, as we go through the adoptions, we are immediately kind of tossing out any curriculum that is not available in Spanish. So that way all the PD and all the teachers can still cross collaborate, and they can all still be on their same unit plans, no matter if they're in the Spanish or in the English. Now, one of these things, this is what I use all the time when I need to quickly gain access and look at another grade level. I will actually use the sample codes from all of the programs. It just makes it a lot easier. It's a lot quicker. You don't have to go through the IT department if you're wrapping up grade 3 and you're going to be grade 4 next year, and you're in this transition period where you want to start planning for grade 4, but you don't have access to that yet. I use all these sample codes all the time to kind of just jump in there and take a look around. So Christine, I know you said you'll get a copy of this and send this presentation out, correct? You're still there, right?
Yes, I did. I forgot I muted myself. Yes, I can share it out to them. And if you want to maybe share it in the link now. Is there anything that they need to access here right this moment? No,
not at the moment.
Okay.
We'll kind of go over each little one, and I'll kind of just point out certain things that get overlooked. It's not necessarily part of the exact core curriculum, but it could be very helpful to you later on.
Okay, sure. We'll definitely post it.
Crystal, this is a great slide for you as you start looking at stuff for next year. And Sochi, sorry.
Yes, most definitely. Okay, so if we kind of look at, if we start with Matavillas compared to Wonders, they are closely aligned, but then they veer on some of the literature portions because they're trying to infuse it with more of the Spanish cultural literary components within the ELA program. And so when we go to take a look at Matavillas, we kind of look up the teacher's edition. I'm just going to translate it to English because it takes me a while to translate into Spanish. But some of the biggest resources that you find in the Wonders program is the same as the Matavillas when you go to the resource folder. And many things that people are looking for are all here listed. The writing connections are one that's usually kind of overlooked. It does have connections to a little bit of the computer literacy when writing. It does have a slew of the graphic organizers. One thing that is nice is it has a program called Study Sync. And so it will even teach students how to do collaborative conversations. And so a lot of times that's really nice when the students can sit there and they watch other students collaborate and you talk about verbiage and, you know, what does it mean to kind of work as a team. It also has the home connections, right? All the ones that you can kind of send home. But within the Matavillas too, up here at the top, the Online Assessment Center is one. Okay. where a lot of people can do you can do the tests, you can assign from libraries. You can even create tests and you can share them with other people. So if one person is creating a test, they can share it with their colleagues. Let's see, writing and research. Okay, so most people's familiar with the wonders and the Maravillas kind of correlations. There is no, there's the organizers, there's the printable assessments, everything with Maravillas and wonders, they're aligned pretty well in that regards. And so does anybody have any specific questions about Maravillas? I don't want to spend too much time on it because we've been using wonders for 5 years now, I believe, 4 to 5 years.
Would you mind, Corey, showing just the grammar aspect for Spanish?
Sure. So let's see, there are in the teacher resources.
It should be in the student reproducibles.
Okay, I know there's a lot, so.
Go back. And go on to where it says student practice worksheets. And grammar should be there.
Okay. So anything that you can think of, really Wonders is completely comprehensive and reproducible. So any of this stuff can also be downloaded, but usually when you're looking for phonics, you're looking for phonetical structures. It's usually all found within whatever curriculum that you're using. And I know more of the general overview of things and kind of what's available. When it comes down to the practice of actually using the curriculum, that's when I default a lot to the teachers. So I'm more of kind of the person that can answer the questions of does it have it or does it not? If it's any good, that's when I kind of default to the teachers who are actually using the curriculum. If that makes sense.
Maybe Bertha and Gisela, who have already seen the curriculum. We were sharing with Corey that there are some components that we hear, not so much from 4th grade necessarily, but we have heard throughout the years that maybe Wonders has it, but Maravillas does not have it. Can you ladies, can you think of anything, any resource, anything like that you guys have come across that Wonders has it, but it's not available in Spanish? Because it may just be that we have not yet found it in Spanish, but this is why Corey can give us a hand with that.
I know for the online component, you're not able to level some of the assessments out. I know that was kind of an issue for a while. I didn't have access to my online component for a while. It was just, I don't know. It just took a while for me to get access to it. And that's something that I heard from the other teachers was that it doesn't level it out. I think, trying to think of the other things. I mean, you will find that some of the stories are not exactly the same, which is fine. They just figured somewhere more appropriate, like in a different version, and it's just a Spanish story, a different one. So not all of the stories are translations of each other. I did notice that in terms of the grammar, though, that grammar reproducible book, we went ahead and sent it to print shop and then made copies for the kids. It's actually really good. It's very comprehensive. So I do recommend that one. And I really liked it. Gisela liked it a lot too.
The only thing for me, everything Bertha said exactly what we dealt with all year. One thing for me, what I'm trying to think is, I don't know if Corey, and this is a really good thing that we're doing this, is there, I almost want to say, I'm sure there is somewhere, but maybe the issue is that things are termed differently than what we think they would be termed into. Like I literally had to like look something up, like, okay, I don't know, how would you say that, like for example, consumable in Spanish, right? Like I know what I would call it, but is that exactly how the Wonders, would call it for Maravillas? Does that make sense? like, is there, maybe I missed it somewhere, is there like a glossary of like how would they say it in the Spanish version, you know, to, because I'm thinking that's what I'm suspecting. I'm like, oh my God, I just don't know what the term is, or what would they call it, you know, so I can find it. Because like you said, it's, I mean, there's tons of stuff on here, you know.
I think I remember, I think it was Marcos that had mentioned he was trying to find, I don't know if it's a weekly assessment or the unit assessments, because he says they have them in Wonders, but he wasn't able to find them in Maravillas. And I believe we called on that, or when last year when the Maravillas rep came over for the training to Triple Crown, and I think the answer was that they just didn't have it. But yeah, it's a good guy. Definitely see what you're saying, Gisela, about maybe just the way the terminology is translated.
No, for sure. The assessments we could not find. I know I spent a weekend trying to see if I could help Ackerman. I'm like, well, let's look through here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, yeah, Marcos had a really valid question. I mean, you know, he's really good about researching that. So.
And you're going to find that too, I think, in a lot of the curriculums, even with the science one that came up. You know, I was doing a little translation on life science, and I was consulting the ELD department. They said, oh, no, that's not how we would say life science, right? They would say, you know, ciencias naturales. And I was like, oh. So I think too, it definitely is a learning curve for us. The one, Maravillas, is, I would say, a little bit behind the rest of the programs, because more and more people are calling for DLI programs that are directly aligned with their current ELA programs. And so I think from here on out, you're just going to see things get better. Whereas I believe when McGraw-Hill structured this, their Maravillas team and their just regular Wonders team, they weren't working as tightly knit together as I believe teachers would have liked to see. But another one of these hidden gems in Wonders Maravillas is this professional development under the resources. A lot of times too, when people come to me and they're looking for certain things, a lot of my answers I find within this professional development. It's one of those things that we just don't have the time for, but it is very valuable. Anything from how to just start learning Maravillas. If you are a brand new teacher to our district and you've never even touched Wonders or Maravillas, a lot of these are just good to kind of go over. Even to just short things on small group instruction, there's an entire reading coach guide. If you have one of those aides that could come in, it's something that's nice and you can kind of just hand them to. It even has things on instructional routines.
And I know that you translated this, Corey, but are these videos and all of that, are they in Spanish?
Sometimes they are, sometimes they are not. And we find out with the DLI curriculums, it's very interesting. Usually if it's geared toward a teacher, it'll be in English. Because it's for the teacher. But if it's something to show the students, it's usually in Spanish.
Gotcha.
And so that's been kind of a little quirk too on, you know, which is which.
Yeah, I would assume that the instructional routines then may be in Spanish then. That would be really cool to take a look at.
Yes, and so this one too, like this one directly talks about phonological awareness and phonics and all of that too, including the videos. If you want to go closed reading, complex text, social emotional learning too is a huge one. And then they even have one specific to dual language. And so they can say, you know, how is it different? And just kind of watching these videos. They're usually pretty short. They don't take too much time, but it does give you a lot of kind of just good ideas to kind of think about and explore.
Transfer learning between languages. That's awesome. I didn't know that was there. Yeah. See, that helped, Corey.
So when grade level chairs are always looking to kind of just, you know, throw something out there, this is where I direct them to. Okay. Moving on, Impacto or Impact, Social Studies Impact, is also McGraw-Hill product. So when you go into these sample codes, you get everything in English, but you also get everything in Spanish. So you get the English is usually first, and then you get down and it comes into the Spanish. Okay, and it is another McGraw-Hill platform. I believe that they are getting better with using their platforms. It's not as complicated as the Matavia ones, but their science and their history are better. And now with the Impact, the idea with the Impact is there's like a unit lesson, and as the kids are exploring through their weekly lessons, they're creating this giant kind of unit project. So it's really incorporated project-based learning within Impact. What's unique to the Spanish version of Impact is they do have this dual language teacher's edition. And so that is specific to Impact. Sometimes it wants me to go to the second page. And so there is the dual language edition. Has anybody used the dual language edition yet? And has it helped you in your teaching at all?
I actually brought this home for the summer. That was one of the TEs that I was like, I'm going to need this one when I cleared out my classroom. So I brought it home.
Okay. It usually takes you about a year to use the program, right, to understand the program. And then year 2, that's when you kind of get into the kind of nitty gritties of things. And then by year 3 is usually when teachers have a good grasp on the program. So it does go over a lot of the vocabulary within the dual language teacher's edition. The other thing is they also have the weekly Explorer's Guide, and that will bring in some of the kind of more current events about what's going on in the world. It connects it across time periods. What McGraw-Hill did in the Weekly Explorer Guide, though, is they have since put it within their core textbook, which logistically makes it nice because everything's located in one book.
So these will be in the student's book, this part right here?
Yes.
Okay.
It makes the page numbering a little bit off when they did it. But this is the Weekly Explorer's Guide. So it's kind of an extension of what you read within the textbook. But it makes a lot of better connections to modern day, a little bit more meaningful.
Yeah,
which
our
is
students really enjoyed this piece when we did the energy, and then we connected it to like a car being, you know, connected to magnetic power. I thought that was amazing.
yes, it's
It
really
made
nice.
that fun connection.
Yeah. So I believe that's a hidden gem too, is using that that Weekly Explorer Guide. The other thing that's really nice about the McGraw-Hill products is in the teacher's edition, if you're ever kind of confused about what exactly should you have in your teachers, in the entire program, the teacher's edition will tell you, and they also show you visually what's in the program. So after table of contents, they usually have a picture. Watch, they're not going to show me now. It goes right here, and here's the components of the program. And blow it up. It doesn't like me to blow it up. Come on. There you go. And so it does tell you all the student materials, and it'll show you teacher materials. So if you ever have a question of what comes with the program, just take a look in the first couple pages of your teacher guide in both Wonders and Maravillas or Impacto, and it'll point it out for you, especially with Maravillas and all the cards.
And so those are the base items that are purchased and available, right? Because I know sometimes it's like, I don't think we're going to purchase this component, and they could just look for it online. And sometimes it's kits and materials that they actually have.
Yes, and I will say we did purchase everything in regards to Wonders Maravillas except for, they call it the classroom libraries, which are additional just reading material for the kids, their books. We had them on the original purchase. The publisher threw those in as just kind of a one-time deal. But after that, we did not purchase any of like the reading extensions called the classroom library, but everything else we purchased.
Okay.
In all of the programs.
Cool.
Yeah. The other thing that's really nice here about Impacto is Impact News. And what I like about Impact News is it takes it further. If you need more connections into what's going on today, you can even do it by grade level. You do grades 2, 3. It'll talk about different things that are in the news or things that pertain more to today. So the census, here we're talking about the Supreme Court cases here remotely. It just gives you a lot more kind of social studies connections.
Have any of you ladies used this? This looks pretty cool. Like as far as we were talking yesterday, those units, the creating units, this would be great comprehension pieces to incorporate.
Absolutely, I agree. This would be awesome. We were very tempted, but there's just so much, trying to figure out what goes where. But yeah, I'm excited to develop a unit where we can use something like this.
And it seems, yeah, these seem to be current events. I mean, they already have this going on with masks. So I think anytime in your units that you can make things relevant to now is just, oh my gosh, that'd be awesome for engagement. That's awesome. I love this piece.
And in this particular one too, there's this little button right here. This is Espanol. And you can click on that and it will translate everything.
That's beautiful.
And it also has connections to science. Even though we didn't purchase their science program, it does have some connections there that you can also use.
I did notice in this piece, and you probably said it already, Corey, but I did notice that Impacto had more of the actual translation of the language, and it wasn't a direct, translation. Like it was actually a direct translation. I was like, oh wow, they actually, that sounds like what it should sound like,
Mm-hmm.
And you will see that with all the other subjects. It was just for how they designed Maravillas. They wanted to make sure they had that more Spanish kind of cultural pieces within it. Okay. So that's Impact News. The other one that's also nice is the Training and Resource Center. Again, it's one of those kind of hidden gem things that gets overlooked. Anything from just kind of digital overviews to help on demand with the teachers, and how do you assign online resources? I get questions like this all the time. Even the special features, if you're able to grab a hold of a Google Expedition Kits, I mean, it even has ideas of when you can take your kids on the expedition activities and what you can connect it to that you're currently reading. And so these ones are also very nice. Student resources, how do the students, walk through the digital portions of the program. And so it's kind of all these little snapshots that McGraw-Hill has already done the work for you. And of course, I always use tech support. Believe it or not, I contact tech companies all the time just on little questions. And a lot of times they're able to send me back just quick directions on how to find something or how to access certain things. Any other questions per se on impact?
What was this feature with the expedition part was in?
Google Expeditions. I believe you could even search for that. Let me see. So is anybody familiar with Google Expeditions? So Google Expeditions is the one where the kids can use goggles, and there's actually a smartphone or like a touch screen in it, and you can actually lead them on an expedition overlooking, you know, the mountains or in outer space. It's a virtual field trip. And so with the Google Expeditions, you can also do it on your phone. You can do it on the computer. It just wouldn't be so 3D. But it does have a lot of connections to the expeditions. It's a nice little kind of tangent.
We'll have to look into it. Do you happen to know how much? I would assume it's like those VR, virtual reality mask type things,
Yes.
or Google Cardboards or whatever. Do you happen to know what they require for it? Like that, is it actually called Google Expeditions something mask, or is that just the teaching component?
The masks, they're actually just called VR goggles.
VR goggles. So it could be any VR goggle, right? See,
Yep.
you can look into something like that. Maybe you guys can look into using some of your your grade level materials for something like that, or enrichment. That would be cool.
And students can even access them just on their Chromebooks too, if you want them to just kind of go through the motions without the 3D component of it. You can do that too. And so it's kind of nice. They even give you sample activities, my blog, my travel blog, you know, as they're going through different things. So the Google Expeditions is also in there. Any questions on impact? Or does anybody like impact? Any questions about that? I know that was brand new this year.
Corey, do you notice if I don't know if it's just me, but when it goes, or the Zoom right now, but I know when I've been on there, like there's like a little bit of a delay, and even when you have that window open, you know how you were trying to zoom in and zoom out, where you're having issues. I mean, that's the only thing. Like I know I was trying to copy and paste something because I couldn't find in like a image bank. Like I guess I wanted to make like a poster or a chart of like when we're learning about the different branches of government, you know, instead of like drawing it, of course, like old fashioned, you know, throw it on. But I was just wondering about that. Obviously nowadays you can do all kinds of stuff, but I mean, is there like a weird delay in that, like when it opens a window and then another window, kind of weird setup? I'm just wondering if there's a way to get around that.
Yeah, I hear you. McGraw-Hill seems to be the ones that we have the most problems with on their digital portions of things. It's all on the McGraw-Hill side. It's not on the Valverde side, unfortunately.
You know, I do like how you can set up like a menu of like the activities you're doing. You know, how they can set up that feature of like the presentation, and then I'm gonna do a video, I'm gonna, introduction, and so for vocabulary. But then you become too ambitious and you want to do too much. So be careful with that feature. It's awesome.
Yes, no, definitely. Okay. And so, okay, moving on. Another one that we have available. Oh, McGraw-Hill also have the snap-ins. I kind of wanted to point those out. The snap-ins are the connections from the California Wonders to Impact. And I thought I had the link up here, but maybe I don't. But what these are is you have California Wonders, and you should have received these snap-ins for your teacher editions. And so if you're reading Wonders Unit 1, Friends and Family, this is from 2nd grade, it'll tell you too, here's how you can connect it to Chapter 1 about families on California Impact. Does anybody have any comments about the snap-ins? Is that pretty known? Everybody should have received those?
Yeah, I love those because it really, like for us, it was super useful because it helps us to just really integrate everything together and know from the publishers what's the most important things that we can pull out, what's going to make the best connections in shorter time, like doing the whole fast track away. One thing I will say though, if you see, it's kind of like almost like a scrapbook page size type of page, but they're all together and they're shrink wrapped. And I'm just putting this out there because I know a lot of teachers missed it. They were like, oh, that's what that is. And it's awesome. It really does just condense everything, put it into one place where it just integrates everything together, and it does it really nicely. So if you do see that, it's shrink wrap, but it's like really, really thin. It's easy to miss. That's why I put it out there. Yeah.
Yeah, Corey, this is a good one to point out because, well, depending on, I know now I think we're going into more of a unit study. So like, instead of like rotating every 2 weeks, I think we're going to be using on this a lot more just to help, go deeper, dive into that unit and not trying to rush it in 2 weeks, So this is going to be very useful, to like, okay, this is the most essential, but the most, more in depth, lesson.
And these ones are very easy to do, some of the cross-curricular, especially with the history, like right here with week 3 in communities and wonders, you're talking about how do people from different cultures contribute to a community, and then you can and you flip over. How do people of coastal communities, kind of what makes up their culture? And so this is really good to make those connections. Okay. All right. Any other questions about the snap-ins? All right, moving on. The next one is math, and math expressions is Think Central is their platform. And this is kind of where it gets hard because now we flipped over to a whole nother publisher. So it's a whole nother kind of learning platform. With math expressions though, the nice thing is you already have access to everything. Just from your login account. It's just the way that Houghton Mifflin has created their platform. So over here, where it says CA Math Expressions, you can quickly flip over to Spanish. And you can click on your grade levels. And the only reason why you don't see grade level 5 here is because the purchase hasn't gone through yet. So that's what's really nice about Houghton Mifflin. And you get all of the programs that we have purchased through Houghton Mifflin. The Science Fusion will go away. That's currently what grades K through 3 was using before we just purchased the Carolina. Kind of the hidden gems with the math expressions is the California, the resource and support site. If you click on that, and you go down to math, and to math expressions, there's a lot of things about the overview for the brochure. The component list is huge from those math expressions math kits. There are so many different things in the kits. Sometimes you think you might be missing something. There's daily routines that they recommend with math expressions. And so just, using the 120 posters, it's just a lot of kind of additional help that you might not have seen within the program because it is so large. Sentence stems, use webcast guides, the performance task letter. There's a lot of just kind of more math things in here. But as
For those,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. For those question stems and talking, where did I see math talk questions and sentence stems? Are those in Spanish for?
And so, no, these are more for the teachers, and so they haven't translated them directly for student usage.
Mm-hmm.
But their support site is all in English.
Okay.
But this is a great example, team. If what Corey just shared is a super cool 2-page document that could be easily submitted to our interpretation team, and they definitely can get it to you in no time. So this is the kind of support that we can provide, and so that you guys are not having to worry about doing it on your own. So if you'd like any of these resources from any of the components, but you see that they're only in English, feel free to send it our way and we can get that in Spanish.
And there's also different, professional developments. If you're looking into, having somebody come out in classroom support for teachers. But I believe so if your site wants somebody to come out, it even shows you what the prices would be if you want the publishers to come out. Okay. Any questions with math expressions? I know we've had that longer than Wonders, so.
That was my next question, Corey. Since we've had it longer, when is the last year we're using math expressions?
So we have 2 years will be the end of our 8. But the state doesn't come out with their approved list for another 2 years, and then usually it's about 2 years after that. So you're looking, we're 3 to 4 years out from a new math program.
Okay, that's good to know. I had heard something. I'm like, I better just ask Corey right now. Rumors are out there. So 2 to 4 years.
It's 2 to 4 years, yeah.
Until I get emailed by you.
Yes.
That's good information to know. Thank you, Corey.
Yeah.
I get that question all the time. So
the state publishes all of that, and so I just keep watching the state and looking at their guidelines of when things are coming.
A lot of teachers are probably like, how much time do I really want to put towards this if we're going to change it? Next year is going to be something different. But when you're looking at 2 to 4 years, you might want to invest some time into making it work while you have it.
Yes. Okay, moving on. Building blocks of science. So this is our brand new one coming in, Carolina. Carolina is fun because they build everything within 30 minutes. And they really try to make science hands-on learning for the kiddos. And I know, Ms. Martinez, you piloted, right, the building blocks.
Yes.
Do you want to say a couple words on your experience with that?
I absolutely love the experience with it. My students loved it. We just wish we had a lot more time with it. It's just trying to, first year of teaching DLI myself, and then, first year to get to know the Carolina science, and then implementing that, and just trying to find the balance, right? And trying to stay with your force. So it's basically a lot of teamwork with your team and trying to make sure that you focus into what your purpose in your unit is all about. But the kids absolutely loved it. The activities are well laid out. It's very well scripted. There's there's a process, and it's really guided. And what I love the most is how it's so aligned to the new science standards, and that frame of the science model, the 5E model, which is phenomenal. And that enrichment of vocabulary, and then the enrichment of them like using it, and then that closed reading. How do you say that? That closed writing, frames where they have to explain it, not just here's my answer. This because of that because of this situation. So that was really neat. And then the hands-on component. I mean, they couldn't wait. Are we doing that today? Like have it out, ready to go, and they absolutely enjoyed it. We left off at circuits.
Corey, there was a question in the chat. I can only answer it the best that I can based on what I flipped through. But is it like mystery science? If you're familiar with, I don't know if you're familiar with mystery science, but it basically walks the students through a concept by doing experiments. And so I mean, Mystery Science does it in a way where there's like a video and they kind of set the scene, they do this overview, and then it's like, okay, so now let's watch this and let's do this. And then they go through some experiments and then have like a closure and questions throughout, you know, like, what are you observing and this and that. And so,
It's similar, because you'll start with like a phenomenon that happens, and then there might be there are videos, excuse me, tons of images and videos. It just it's all about how you understand the material, and that's what took me a little while, as a teacher, to kind of understand how to lay it all out. But it's all scripted, it's all there, the type of questions you should ask, when certain activities should be done, and in what order. I have to say, though, Mystery Science is probably a lot more, it's less of that actual, like, them developing and forming their answers with academic structured language. That's what it is. That's the one component that I can truly say is a lot stronger in this Carolina Science than it is in Mystery Science.
that's great.
Yeah, and what you'll see, just kind of a quick overview for those of you not familiar with building blocks, is what's nice is it's in 3 units. And so you have a life science unit, a physical science unit, and an earth science unit. And so it kind of correlates to the trimesters already. And so when you go into a unit, you will see, and this is through the teacher view, that there's 5 lessons in this unit, and it even connects it to each of the 5 E's. And then it shows how many investigations that the students are going to do. And a lot of it, like Ms. Martinez says, is it's students hands-on, it's driven, it's a lot more exploration for them to explore.
Now, Corey,
Yes.
did notice how, I only had the first unit, the energy available and open, of course, because we were doing the piloting, but I noticed now, of course, it's beginning to open up, so we can start getting familiar with it. So is that intent? Because I remember reading earlier, so there's many fields of units, but did our district specifically only choose 3 per grade level? And are those like intended to try to complete within trimesters, and in the order of how they're taught is up to the discretion of the grade level or whatnot?
Yeah, we bought the entire program. And so building blocks just happens to have 3 units for each grade level. And so it kind of just corresponds to trimesters. But as to if you're only going to use it during that trimester, or how is the pacing going to go, that's all going to be left up to the NGSS teams, or the teams that are rolling out next year. They're the ones who are going to kind of really look into that and see if we can do some district benchmarks. But as of right now, it's up to the teachers.
Corey, with this question, do you know if does it build on each other? Like, do the activities get harder as it goes? I guess that would be a good question to have, in the sense of having the flexibility of flipping back and forth. Do we know that by chance?
Do you know between units? Is that what you're talking about? Or
Yeah, so if I decided to do, let's say, physical science is the 3rd unit, but I want to do it at the beginning of the school year, when we're looking at that little reproducible, am I going to start with the hardest activities and the longest writing expectation, that kind of thing, just because I'm starting with the 3rd unit, or is it pretty much the same?
It's pretty much the same. You're going to see it loop around. It's not built like an ELA program where the skills are very developing in the very beginnings. No, you can interchange them, and you will not be at a disadvantage from the rest. You can also see down here, everything is in Spanish. So you can come down and you can look at there's some extension literacy articles that will be in Spanish, but it's the exact same as the English version of things.
I don't know if you guys have used this already, but did you know that you can turn a PDF into a Google form quiz? Have you tried?
Tried that. I never tried that. How you do
Oh,
that?
I'll send you. I'll send you a link. But yeah, I was mind blown when we first got into this distance learning and people posting things everywhere, and it's like people making their own quizzes from based off a PDF that they or a worksheet they would have given in the classroom. So now they're changing everything to Google Forms, and it's like it's already done for you. You could just scan it and it changes it into a quiz for you. So I'll send you the link of how to do that.
I'm not going to spend too much time on the science because there's a lot of PD that's being rolled out from Doug Henderson's in charge of that part. But there is, like when you get to procedures and digital resources, and this is just in one specific lesson, there's all kinds of online simulations if the kids aren't able to do specific things, within the classroom. Here's another one, just to kind of manipulate and see what happens. And so that's really nice. And you see right up here directions, and you can even flip it over to Spanish.
And this is great practice too for CASP, because I know they'll have to be able to do these things on the, I said CASP, but I meant CAST, the science and GSS state assessment, because they have to do things like skills like this.
And you know what? And these simulators were amazing too, Corey. The kids really struggling with the concept, and then I assigned these. They really enjoyed it, and then they got to play with it, and while they're in exploration still, trying to figure out the science. That's pretty neat.
Okay, good. And there are huge science kits that come with everything. And so you'll have not only the kits, but you'll have the kits will have enough for 30 students in them. We made sure of that when we did the purchase.
And is that going to be something that gets replaced every year, Corey? I think I asked you and I don't remember the answer, to be honest.
I'm trying to, yes, they will. What did we think? I'm trying to remember what we did. I believe the kits, the refills of the kits is going to be up to the sites. And we're talking about things like paper cups and potting soil. And what happened when the previous science adoption is many sites did not use these specific labs that were given to them from the curriculum purchase. They wanted to do something a little bit different, which left thousands and thousands of just unused materials and tin foil and paper plates and everything just kind of laying around. So what we're going to do is the sites will have budgets for refills because the cost is very minimal. They're small things, like things you could pick up from the dollar store if you needed to. And we thought that would probably be the best way that teachers got what they needed without wasting thousands of dollars and overpriced materials from the publisher.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the impression I got when I opened the container was like, wow, this is not really that crazy technology, It's basic stuff.
Basic. So I think once you dive into it, you'll really like it. And what's really nice about this program too is I'm always thinking about the teacher who misses all the professional development and literally comes in next year, the following year, and you hand them the teacher edition and say, go. And so it's really nice as it's easy to catch up on this program.
Yeah, they seem to be doable units. I mean, usually it's too much, but these really seem to be chunked in a doable way.
Yes.
It's not 8 units or 12 units. It's
I will say
3 units.
I will say the only challenging component to this, and something for us DLI to keep in mind, is the writing component. We have many scholars who don't prefer writing, and so, but this thing also encourages them to perform that academic language and use that academic vocabulary. But that is our job to, bridge that disconnect, because they don't really prefer it, right? They love the science, and I think that's one way we can engage them and grab them.
Right.
But then, like, helping them through that writing bridge is what's going to, because that's one thing I noticed, I had to model the sentence, or I had to create a sentence frame, or together, or have someone model it, because that was the one thing that was challenging, is having to actually, because it has a lot of like scripted, or like you get the journal or the reproducible, they have to physically write it in. So that was the only challenge, I think.
And Isela, to piggyback on that, that's a great, so CAST, when they take CAST in 5th grade, there's tons of that. So it's a great tool to get them ready for that.
Exactly. And that's why I kept telling my students, like, this is good, guys.
And one of the hidden gems too that was big with the adoption committee too is, well, how do I set this stuff up? And everything has a teacher prep video on what do you take out of the box? How do you set it up for your students to use? And so that was a big plus with the teachers.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. And then, so with Caroline, I'm going to kind of leave it there because you're going to get a lot of PD on that coming up. The last thing I kind of wanted to show you is not a core curriculum, but it is available to you as teachers, any teachers within Val Verde, is our library system. And using the library system to find specific books for your students, or to look for resources that we have around the district for you to use as a teacher. So the easiest way I show people to get to our library system is to go to our Val Verde website, and under students, we have here that says library catalog. And then once you get to this page, you select your site. And then up here, whoops, hold on, it'll say log in. And you just log in with your teacher credentials. Students can log in with their student credentials. And you'll have access to our library catalog. And as teachers, you'll have access to our resource catalog. And so what's the difference? The difference is the library search is the books that are actually in the library for students to read for pleasure. Resources is what we could call our textbooks, our Chromebooks, our headsets, our hover cams. All of that falls into the resource field. But as teachers and students, they can actually search in our library for a specific book. If you as a teacher want to know, you want a list of all the Spanish titles that we have in the libraries, you can actually do that. So here, right, we're looking at Triple Crown Elementary. You can even look for certain reading levels if you want it Lexiled, or for AR, you can do that. And if you just type in the word Spanish as a keyword, right now we have, there's all of these books that pop up that have been tagged as Spanish. Hansel and Gretel, Abraham Lincoln, and the Civil War. And so there's tons and tons of books that are available, one of one available, they're not checked out, within at Triple Crown. Okay, and some of these will be dual language, or they're in Spanish. If you are looking for a specific title, like Dork Diaries is always a big one for the kids.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead. Maybe
Yeah.
will beat me to it.
Oh, we might have the same question. Watch. Is there a way to look up the class sets in Spanish?
Yes. Why are my Dork Diaries?
Yeah.
There it is. Okay. So for class sets, teachers have this function, but students do not. Okay. We consider our class sets as textbooks. So we pull them out of normal circulation, and we kind of have them with our textbooks because they have the same ISBN numbers. We try to stay with that when we have the same guidelines as we do with textbooks. So as teachers, you can come over here and click on resource search, and you can do instructional classification and just type in the word novel. And these are all the novels that Triple Crown Elementary has. And if it has these, the SPED next to it, that's the Spanish edition. It'll even tell you if they're checked out.
I'm glad you said that, because I would have thought that was like special for special ed or something.
Yeah, it's hard for us to put things in Spanish when an English user is using these.
And then this is so awesome, Corey. I wish I knew that when I was a teacher. And then what about the ebooks? Do they have? I would imagine they would be able to access a bunch of the Spanish text, right? As well.
Yes. So for ebooks, you also have this little button over here that says Destiny Discover. There's several different ways you can access the ebook platform, just so you know. But there is a link on the student's class link to get into the ebook program. So if you're telling your kids to access it a different way, it's all the same.
Mm-hmm.
But right here, here's all of our ebooks that are currently in.
And would there be enough licenses for like the class to be able to have this shared book if it's a novel study, for example, like Wonder?
So if it's a book that needs multiple copies, you're normally not going to find it in an ebook unless we've purchased it that way.
Oh, okay.
So you can open this book. And you can look at it. It takes a little bit. It's not as fast as we would like, but it's because of the graphics. And the kids can read it. And some of our ebooks will even read it to you. They're audiobooks.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Some of them are very interactive. For example, our interactive ebooks, if you click on those, you can open it. It will even have little videos or movies. It's kind of a teachable resource. It's called Lightbox. And so as kids kind of click on certain things, you can click on vocabulary, you can have it read. And so these are our interactive ebooks, and many of the ones that we have kind of pre-purchased are ones that connect directly to our science standards or our history standards.
Oh, it's another resource to integrate in your units of study.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So that's what these Lightbox titles, and you can see they're in Spanish too. We have some Spanish ones. So let me go back to our old, I call it the old Destiny. So that is, let me show you one more time. Go to our catalog. That's the library search. Resource search is where you can type in the word novel. And you can actually look at any hover cams or any of that stuff around the district. If you go over here to browse resources, we have them in folders. So for example, Triple Crown has some kind of interactive classroom system. You can click on that and it's InterWrite pads. So there's 0 of 2 available, right? But you can look for anything. If you want to see how many Chromebooks are there, guess what? You can click on the Chromebooks and they will tell you there's 24 of 633 available somewhere at Triple Crown.
I saw some monitors too. Anybody in need of some dual monitors for your online distance learning?
So you can go, you can look. If it's highlighted in blue, that means there's something exists at your site. And you can take a look. There's Cublets, there's the Kibo Kinder Lab Robotics. It's there.
So this is good to know. So before you attack your librarian, you can like, hey, it says you have it.
Yeah.
And if you even want to search district-wide, because we share novels constantly between sites. That's what we do. We move things around, especially at the high schools. We share novels if nobody's using them and grade levels aren't using them.
So good to know.
We move.
Our search.
Yes. So just change this, not just from Triple Crown to the entire district, and type in the word novel and click search. And we have 852 novels within the district. And so you can you go over here and you can look. You may, that's you don't want that one. That's a high school book. But let's say you want Frog and Toad Are Friends and you don't have any here at Triple Crown. Well, we have 89 of them, and it'll tell us, hey, Avalon has 32. We can make a call over to Avalon and be like, we would like to borrow these novels for 4 weeks. And she checks with their grade level. They say, yeah, no problem. We ship them over there. You borrow them. We ship them back later.
That's
All
great.
right. And what is the process when we say we? Is it the site librarian, or would it be you?
It's the
Who
librarian,
does that?
site librarian. We're very
Oh,
familiar.
okay.
We do it all the time. So.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you have any issues with your librarian getting certain products, just let me know. Send me an email. Normally, we don't have any issues with DLI. It gets just a little bit different because that librarian has to know twice as much as everybody else. But, okay. Any other questions? I believe we hit the 1 hour mark, so I don't want to keep everybody here longer.
Yes, no, this was such great information, Corey. Thank you so much for this amazing overview and then some even. Do any of you have any questions while she's here, or?
I just wanted to reiterate, thank you so much, Corey, for giving us this time. And I know that you've offered your email, and so thank you. Yes, please, if there's anything missing, if there's any material, as we said, hey, I can see it in English, but I can't see it in Spanish, it would be great, because we definitely count on great support from Corey. She's always been very, very supportive of the program. And so what we all want is to make sure that you guys have all the materials, but we sometimes don't know, we don't know what we don't know. And so when you send her an email, especially if it's something around curriculum, if you can include the DLI support team as well, so that we know as well, and that's on our radar as we grow and as we make things available to you guys. But thank you so much, Corey. And then Tina, if anybody has any questions, comments.
I think they feel pretty good about it. And then we'll go ahead and Corey, if you want to go ahead and email me your slide deck, and then I will upload her slide deck link to our DLI PD module list along with this recording. And if you want to go back and review anything that she said, go for it. This is all for you guys, and thank you so much for joining us today. Our next module will be going over, I believe, grading and DLI grading and report cards, and so that will be Friday at 1 o'clock. So without any further ado, I bid you adieu.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you, Corey. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, Corey. Take care.